We have the right to health care. We have the right to be able to take care of ourselves, but at what cost? Good morning to one and all present here, respected judges, my fellow participants, and members of the audience. I am Vandana Nishad from S.I.W.S College, and I would like to express my views on the topic, healthcare mission, issues and challenges. It was July 2016. I was home scrolling through my Twitter feed when my mom came from hospital. She said, "They say it is surely tuberculosis." My sister, at the age of 13, was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Like many, I Googled her diagnosis for straight 2 hours. I was later really surprised to find that tuberculosis drugs were available in hospitals and medical clinics for free of cost. But at present, only 1.5 million people in India are able to get free healthcare. These lets people who seek healthcare, who seek treatment in growing sectors to buy drugs for themselves, and most of them struggle to do that. Healthcare is one of the largest sectors in India, both in terms of employment and revenue. But despite this growth, India's healthcare system is facing numerous challenges trying to serve its 1.3 billion population. As per the World Health Organization, it has placed India in 112th position among the 119 countries in the world. It is odious to know that India only spends 1.02% of its GDP on healthcare, a figure that remains unchanged for almost 9 years. Since 2009, India's healthcare spendings have been lower, much more lower than that of low-income countries, which spend almost 1.42% of their GDP on healthcare. The National Healthcare Policy 2017 talked about increasing healthcare spendings by 2.5% of the GDP by 2025. But India hasn't even yet met the target of 2010 to increase the GDP by 2%. Public spendings are squarely states' responsibility, and particularly so in a developing country like ours, it needs to go hand in hand with sanitation, drinking water, prevention of illness, and health education. India is losing almost 6% of its GDP annually due to premature deaths and preventable illness. The public out-of-pocket expenditure by household consists of almost 70% of spendings on healthcare. The challenges facing India's healthcare system are mammoth, and they will only continue to multiply in the years ahead. Surprisingly, most of these problems are neither due to paucity of resources nor due to technical capacity. These hurdles exist due to the perception that the possible solution may find disfavor by the voters and higher influential groups. There is one hospital bed for every 2,049 individuals. There is one government doctor for every 10,189 individuals. And there is one state-run hospital for every 90,343 citizens. But at the end of the day, these challenges can only be met when doctors, essential drugs, and supporting staff are available in health facilities. The biggest transformation will come only when wriggling out posts and manipulating things through political patron stops. Doctors would fall in line only when postings are notified through fair process. And no exception is made whatsoever. Only the state chief minister and health minister can do so. But the question stands, will they? Like education, healthcare needs to be given importance. Access to healthcare is critical to improving labor productivity, which leads to increase in household income, which furthermore breaks down the vicious cycle of poverty. However, the battle to rebuild public sector in healthcare cannot be done alone. It needs involvement of its citizens. 72 years of independence is an opportune time for us to revisit our priorities and place health higher on development and policy agenda. If this happens and is sustained, 77 years of independence would be celebrated with a much healthier country and nation than ever. Thank you very much.